On this edition of the BD Footy Wrap Up ANZAC Weekend edition, we'll go through all the main talking points from the ANZAC weekend, and also from the AFL, and also some juicy recent news that just come out from the NRL. That's all going to be talked about in this edition. So, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the BD Footy Wrap Up. As I said, ANZAC Weekend edition. Hopefully, we all had a great ANZAC weekend, commemorating all our past, present and present men and women who are currently serving for our country. So obviously, big weekend to come out of this. So the talking points really are talk about what happened at the end of the Anzac Day game between Essendon and Collingwood. Is a grand finalist in huge trouble right now? When is it all going to end for North Melbourne? Is there any ending in sight? In the NRL, big breaking news that just broke today as I'm recording this about a not surprise sacking. Coach sacking. I'll talk about that in a bit. Did a cellar dweller produce probably the upset of the 2024 NRL season? And we'll talk about injuries, suspensions, and recent appeals as well from both AFL and NRL. And also asked the big burning question: who celebrated the Anzac weekend better? Was it the AFL or the NRL? I might not get that. I might answer that. Might answer that question, and maybe not. But who knows? But yeah. So let's get this episode started. So let's start with the AFL. Let's start with the AFL and what transpired on the Anzac Day match between Essendon and Collingwood. Now, I'm not going to get through all the games, just a quick synopsis. Obviously, Essendon got out to a 6-goal, got given a 5-goal head start. Collingwood sort of came back into it. It kind of reminded me a mixture of the game against the Western Bulldogs a few weeks ago, and then the game, and then another Anzac Day game a couple of years ago. But it was reversed, where in 2022 it was every time. But Collingwood would every time that we would, as Essendon would try to stay with them. Unfortunately, Collingwood would get a few goals in and would keep them in front. It was sort of like that, but in reverse in a lot of ways, where every time that Collingwood hit the front, it looked like they would, they would look like to, establish a healthy lead. Essendon would just peg them back and then basically grab back the lead and keep that buffer going, which that basically was if Essendon didn't have occasionally had that goal or two buffer, then this result would not have happened. So basically, a few minutes of the game, of course, obviously, Kyle Langford marked inside 50, usually a pretty reliable kick. He missed it, and then about with 40 seconds left, Colin went the other end. Jamie Elliott, who in my opinion has won the mark of the year. I personally give it to him, because that mark on Ben Mackay was just absolutely insane. Insane. I couldn't help but applaud it. I couldn't help but applaud it, because throughout this year, throughout this first 7 rounds, or 6 rounds rather, we've seen a lot of almost speckies. Ones where players go up high, they grab it for a second, and it just parries out of their hands. This time it was a 100 to basically put it this way, he took a 100% purified specky for once. And yeah, I mean Joe Danaher's mark in the opening round against Carlton, I thought that was going to be hard to beat. This one's impossible to top. It will go a long way for the rest of the year to see a better mark than that. And I highly doubt that if all you Collingwood fans are wondering, obviously back in 2017, we all know Howe was robbed of the mark of the year by none other than Joe Danaher, who at the time was playing for Essendon. And me pop still plays the joke now of basically Jeremy Howe's seeing Joe Danaher ride around a $20,000 Toyota while he's riding a bike to training. That's the joke he tells me still to this day. Still tells me. Tells me. So yeah, that's but yeah, But back to the Elliott one. So Elliott had the chance to basically be an Essendon heartbreaker yet again, but only this time he dropped the mark. And that was the last bit of the game because basically the game ended in a draw. Now, the first thought I had after watching this game was, to be honest, it was a fit. I said it was a fitting result because, I mean, if you think about it, we got a 5 or 6 goal head start. Collingwood caught us up, eventually took the lead, and then it became an arm wrestle all the way through. And then at the end of the game, it had 2 moments: a kick, a goal, and a mark that could win the game for both clubs. None of them none of them were taken, and ended the draw. I mean, both sides had their chances. They didn't take them. That's why I believe it's a fair result. Now, after the game, and this comes up once a year, every time there's a draw, the old extra time and home and away games pops up because yeah, that reared its head again. For some, my opinion was for some drawn games. For some drawn games, it feels like you want it to go to extra time, but not this game. I mean, as I said, both sides had chances to win. They didn't take them, and at the end of the day, it was a draw. It was a fitting result. A draw was a fitting result, to be honest, and that's my opinion. My opinion of it. Don't know about Collingwood fans, but us Essendon fans, we could take the 2 points. To be honest, I mean, even though yes, Langford should have kicked that goal, but at the end of the day, we take the 2 points. 2 points better than none at the end of the day. So yeah, and I think Collingwood supporters should have the exact same thing. It's 2 points is better than none. So yeah, and half a game, and to be honest, half a game outside the 8 after this round is better than 2 games outside the 8. So at the end of the day, win-win in a lot of ways. But back on that debate, I mean, the thing is, right, is draws in draws in AFL home and away matches come rarely nowadays. Now, I mean, we all always wonder, at least there'll be a draw, but then there'll be a long stretch, there'll be no draw, and then bang, there'll be one. On average, they happen like 2-3 times a year, to be honest. Drawn matches in home and away, drawn home and away matches. Happen. So they don't often happen. And if they do decide to do this, then in my opinion, I believe it will be pointless due to how irregular drawn home and away matches are. It just feels pointless. I mean, with finals, I get it. There needs to be a result in finals matches. But with home and away matches, I kind of don't think I'm on the bandwagon of no, in a lot of ways. When it's a thrilling game and it's something where one side deserves to win the other, yes, and it's a drawn game, yes, extra time. But when it was like this result here, that it just stays as it is. It's a draw. So just to round it off here, to round off the big question here, the simple answer: do I think AFL need extra time for home and away matches? For me personally, that's a no. To be honest, it's mostly no, because otherwise it'll be pointless to basically do extra time home and away matches when basically nowadays home and away matches, draws in home and away matches happen every 2 or 3 years nowadays. So pretty pointless, really, in a lot of ways. Moving on to the guys up north in the Brisbane Lions, because they are in more trouble than what everyone else thinks. They're in more trouble than what everyone else thinks. They currently have won. They haven't won at the Gabba this year, despite them after coming off of winning every single game at home in 2023, making a grand final. Then they're now 2 and 5, and we all thought that when when they won at the MCG against Melbourne, the cornerstone to consistency had been turned. No, it hasn't. This result against GWS was pretty much a real reality check for Chris Fagan and his men. I mean, I've in the last few years, I've never seen a Brisbane defense. Yes, I've been critical of their defense since the grand final, but I've never seen their defense carved apart like that, and that just shows how. And all I could say is they were bullied by a bunch of 19-year-old kids. A bunch of 19-year-old kids. I'm not saying that to disrespect GWS. I mean, they deserve to be where they are. They are, in my opinion, the best team in the competition. But for a couple of 19-year-old kids for GWS to run around and simply give them no mercy. I mean that young fella Jones, he will be a star for them for the next 10-15 years. Simple as that. Just the way that he was burning off Brisbane defenders burning off Brisbane midfielders and defenders is frightening. It's frightening. It's frightening not for the competition but for Brisbane themselves. I mean. Yeah, they are in massive strife, and could this possibly be that, as I take another sip of drink here before I unleash my opinion here. What if them and Collingwood were the two disadvantages behind this new opening round, or as I call it, round zero, which I'm gonna say it once, I'm gonna say it again for the remainder of the year. Stop saying it's opening round. It's round zero. It's round zero. AFL, get over it. But get over everyone else's opinions. Are they the disadvantages here? Because the two teams, and how ironically here, the two teams that met, and what's strange is the two teams that met in the prelim, which was Carlton and GWS, the two teams that lost in the prelim final, they're in the top 8. Well, GWS, they're at the top of the ladder, and Carlton, they've been close to top 4 pretty much all season. So, and then with the two grand finalists in the Pies and Brizzy, they've been outside the 8 pretty much all season so far. So what does that boil down to? And it boils down to, and everyone else, and everybody else in the AFL media landscape has the same opinion. It has something to do with the fact that the season has started a week earlier this season, and the fact that those two grand finalists played in round zero. That if you compare that to GWS, where they spent a week because obviously they heartbreakingly lost in the prelim, they get a week extra to prepare, and then obviously with Geelong, who are probably almost equal with GWS as the best team in the competition so far, and the record of 7 wins, 7-0 is no understatement. But the way, the way that they handled it, by round 23, they knew they weren't gonna. They knew straight away after round 22, they knew they weren't gonna make finals. So what was the point in playing guys like Cameron, Hawkins, all of these guys? So basically, Chris Scott just rested them for round 23, and and so basically, and they just rested, and then when they came back for preseason, they were fine and dandy. So is it now? Is this now a big disadvantage now with this opening round concept? Is it now a big disadvantage to play on grand final day? We all know it's so rewarding, the biggest day of the year, grand final day and all that. Has opening round turned that into a disadvantage to be in? Because quite obviously the AFL's going to go, oh, you used to play in the grand final. Sorry guys, you're playing in round zero. and they'll basically go, hang on. Everybody else all the others participants have probably had their seasons ended by round 24, and have gotten 4 weeks extra to rest up. We haven't. So yeah. So I wonder here if Brisbane, if for some strange reason that Brisbane and Collingwood, if they either don't make finals or bail out in the first week, I wonder if they're going to say something. Each of the boards are going to say something to the AFL about, hang on here. We're 12 months ago, we were the best two sides in the competition, and then a year later, we're bailed out. We're bailed out after 1 week in the finals. because of this opening round concept. Yeah. So basically. That's the argument here. And with Brisbane, it's the same thing. I mean, they didn't have that extra time to prepare for the season like all the other clubs did. And to make matters worse, they played Carlton, who, how ironically, they beat in the prelim, and they lost that one as well. So. And they lost that, and Brisbane lost that, ironically, in a game which they should have, could have, would have, and should have won. But as I said, I thought that with the performance against North Melbourne, we could bypass that one because we all know how shit North Melbourne are. We'll get to them in a sec. But I thought, as I said, the cornerstone to consistency for Brizzy had been turned when they bet Melbourne at the MCG. You all thought, oh, they're back in fashion. Then this game happened, and basically, they basically fell to a Toby Greenless GWS Giants side. And also a team that filled a couple of 18, 19-year-old kids. Simple as that. And they as I said, I've never seen a Brisbane Lions side embarrassed that much probably since Chris Fagan's taken over. There have been some embarrassing losses, like the time when they kicked only 2 goals for the entire game against Richmond, and when they got smashed by under 100 points. I mean, there was even some like most recently the game against the game against Port Adelaide around 1 last year when they got embarrassed in the second half. When they dropped their winning streak against the Gold Coast Suns, ironically in an 8-goal loss, but this is the pick of the bunch, that no doubt about it. And to make matters worse here, apparently there was a rumor swirling around about a week or so ago that Brisbane had offered Hugh McCluggage a 6-year deal. I have a hunch that's a 6-year, $6 million deal, which means he's going to earn $1 million a year. Over $1 million a year. That's my hunch about it. Because surely a guy like him, surely a player like him, surely he gets $1 million a year. He'd be the next $1 million man. Definitely. No doubt about it. But if this Brisbane side continues to go where they are now, could there be the possibility that Hugh McCluggage's head would turn to another team and go, you know what, I could see the possible downfall of this team. I'll go to another club to win the ultimate. I won't be surprised if that happens. Let's put it that way. I would not be surprised at all if it does happen here. So to round off this, I think Brisbane, all the focus is going to be on them over the next month to see if they can actually turn their season around. They've done it before. They've done it before from worse positions than this. But it's going to be tough work for them from here on in, for them, and pretty much, I've pretty much saw that statistic that top 4 sides over the last 20 years have averaged 7.5 losses in a season. And with them at 2-5 after seven games, that's pretty much their chance of finishing top 4 all bar gone. That's all bar gone. And they have to win all bar 2 games in order to get that top 4 finish, which is oh so important. And that, with a 2-5 start, is a very, very, very tricky thing to do. So just to round off this topic, to move on to the next one. Yeah, I think Brisbane's going to be a big watch over the next month, let's put it that way, to see if they do decide to turn it around, because by their lofty standards, their performance against GWS, albeit at Manuka, was embarrassing. Let's put it that way. I might be a bit harsh over this, but it was embarrassing. I watched that game. You better believe I watched that game, and they were just embarrassed and toyed with by a couple of 18-year-old kids. That's all I could say, really. But yeah. But anyways, moving on here from one team in trouble to another that is stuck on the very bottom of the ladder again. That being North Melbourne. To be honest here, guys, I don't know. I don't know. You all don't know. We all don't know when this is going to end. When this North Melbourne nightmare is going to end. And to be honest here, I talked about it last week about the fact that did they blow the chance of Harley Reid? Yes, they did. They did blow their chance of getting Harley Reid for this game. So they blew their chances of getting Harley Reid, obviously, by winning the round 24 game against the Gold Coast Suns over at Bloodstone Arena. Let's put it that way. That win ultimately costed them Harley Reid, because we all know he was going to go at pick 1, which he would go to the West Coast. And now look at what he's doing at the West Coast Eagles, for frick's sake. So yeah, when is this going? We don't know when is this going to end. The competition is at its most even ever. Even West Coast are starting to get their freaking act together. Get their freaking act together. And then you got freaking North Melbourne here, who pretty much almost lost all their games by 8 goals plus this season, which is embarrassing, so to speak. And it doesn't dwell well on Clarko's record. This here is just. And this record here, we've all seen the record Adam Simpson's had in recent years as Eagles coach. This one is equally as damning as that. That since Clarkson took over at the start of last year, he has only won 3 times in 17 games. And fun fact, he has only won 1 game in the He's only won 1 game in the last 18 after he had that 2-0 start to his time at North Melbourne. Since then, 1 win in 18 games. That win, as I said, ultimately cost them getting Harley Reid at pick 1, because ultimately they won it, and West Coast to wooden spoon. There you go. So yeah, and when and when are they going to get out of this 3 to 4 year rut they've been having? Or actually no, it's gone on longer, since probably 2017. Since the start of 2017, this rut's happened. When they finished what they finished what was it, bottom four under Brad Scott in 2017. Just missed out on finals in 2018. Had a horrible start to 2019, which led to Brad Scott walking away. But then what's his name? It's not long ago. I actually can't remember his name. McVeigh, no. Ray Shaw, that's the one. Ray Shaw. I think it was Ray Shaw. Took over. Took them close to the finals, but not close enough. 2020, first full year under him. Won the first two matches. They were cocking a hoop. They only won like 2 games afterwards, and that was pretty much the start of them dropping like a stone real quickly here. Then in their first year, they won the wooden spoon, which was not bad. Throughout the year, they did improve throughout the year, but it really wasn't enough for them to avoid the wooden spoon, which ultimately got them Horn Francis. We all know how that turned out. Then in 2022, got even worse. They only won twice, won the wooden spoon again. They hit the jackpot with Clarko. For him, it was either going there or going to Essendon. And he chose to go back to North Melbourne, a team that he used to play for back in the 80s. And so far, it has not worked. It just has not worked. And what's unfortunate is, let me name some of the stars in that team, and also some youngsters as well, who are in this North Melbourne side currently right now. Name you a handful of them: Harry Sheasel, George Wardlaw, Zane Dersma, Luke Davies-Uniacke, Colby McKercher, Nick Larkey, Paul Curtis, Charlie Cobden, Eddie Ford, and Cam Zaha. Those are the names there. And if we all know Zaha has been linked to a couple of teams. I think Essendon is one of them that he's been linked to. But I mean, surely, if Zaha's off contract and he's a free agent, and he sees what he's been linked to Essendon, and he's seen what his mate Ben Mackay has been doing at Essendon, surely he jumped ship. I'm not necessarily saying I recommend him jumping ship to Essendon. I'm not saying that as a biased freaking thing, but to go to a better club and to get some success, which North Melbourne is basically very, very, very far away from. Basically, I mean, I even commented when at the captain's day before the season started, and there was a picture of Jai Newcombe at the very front, right beside the Premiership Cup. I went to myself and go, that's as far as North Melbourne's gonna get to that Premiership Cup this year, and they're already clean out of sight of it. And it's already clean out of sight of them after 7 rounds. Well, it was already clean out of their sight after 1 round, let's put it that way. After round 1, let's put it that way. But yeah, it was. It's just a shame, really, that if these guys stay loyal and stay with North, they're just not going to have the success. They're just not. It's not going to have the success that they crave, really, which is unfortunate, really, really for them. And I mean, look at this. I mean, you got Sheasel, who some have argued that his good work should be further up the field, but because of how and he's so consistent getting so much of the ball, because basically he plays at the half back line, and most of freaking North Melbourne's ball getting is in their back line. Let's put it that way. But yeah, and then George Wardlaw, he's shown some potential. So too does Dersma. LDU potentially could be top 5 midfielders in the league. Let's put it that way. McKercher again showed some promise. I mean, Nick Larkey, he has shown the potential in the last couple of years. He could be a future Coleman medalist. Paul Curtis, he's a pretty handful of a handful of a forward as Paul Curtis. I remember watching him on Good Friday, and he played great in that. He played awesome in that game in a losing team. I mean, Charlie Cobden. I mean, we haven't seen much of him because obviously last season we all know he broke his leg in the game against Melbourne. He's just a few games off coming back, and from what I've heard about him, he's a very good intercept marker, which I think potentially he can be a top 5 intercept marker in the game if he produces some good footy together. Eddie Ford as well. You know, he has some great potential. As well with those, he'll do have great potential if he keeps growing those sideburns. Let's put it that way. And then Cam Zerha, we all know how electrifying he can be at times. And just imagine if he goes to a side that has more success. He'd be great. He'd be great at a team that is higher up on the ladder, to be honest. But since the team's on the bottom of the ladder, it just affects him in a lot of ways. Excuse me, choked on water there. Excuse me. But to end on this topic, I think for me, there's literally no end in sight, really, to be honest. But North, to be honest, and it just gets worse. I mean, if I search this up right now, their next 3 games, their next month is St Kilda at Marvel Stadium, Gold Coast at TIO Stadium, and we all know how unbeatable they've been in recent years down at Darwin as the Gold Coast Suns. Essendon, and then Port Adelaide at home at Bellerive, and then they have their mid-season bye. So it's a pretty tough month ahead for them. Let's put it that way. And you never know. There's the possibility they could go into their mid-season bye 0-11. That's a real possibility. That is the real possibility. And then their first real opportunity for a victory would be probably that match after their bye against the West Coast Eagles, which is probably not going to be because we've all seen that West Coast have finally got their act together. Yes, they lost against the Gold Coast Suns, which fair enough considering Gold Coast are unbeatable down at home now under Dimmer, but still, but still in a lot of ways. It just shows really that there's no real ending in sight, really, and I feel bad for North Melbourne defenders, but for North Melbourne fans. But to be honest, yeah, what more can you do really on that front? It's been a really bad start to the year for North Melbourne in a lot of ways, to be honest, with that. Moving on to the NRL, and we'll start off with news that came through. I'm gonna say about that came through about over an hour ago, as I'm recording this, and it was after weeks and weeks and weeks of speculation over at South Sydney. It was confirmed tonight that their coach in Jason Demetriou has been sacked from effective and immediately, and it was also announced that Ben Hornby will be taking charge of South on an interim basis. So I'm going to read. And this is what the CEO, the Rabbitohs CEO Blake Solly said. I'm going to put my laptop here so I can read this here. So this is what he said, what he publicly said about it. Here we go. So this is what he said. The board and management feel that now is the time to make a change of leadership of our football program in terms of the head coaching role. There is no doubt Jason's work. This was a bit about Dimitri himself. There's no doubting Jason's work ethic or his drive for success, but unfortunately that success has not been forthcoming over the past 12 months, which is true in a lot of ways. This seems stating, we wish him all the best for the future. Yada yada. So and basically it says in the article on NRL.com, outlining his history, joining South as assistant coach in 2018. Then he took over from Wayne Bennett in 2020 at the end of 2021. His first season got through to the prelim. Then 2023. His second season started strongly but fell away late, and then obviously the horrible start to this season, obviously, and apparently this article says there's more information to come about that, but yeah, so where to now for Souths? Where to now for them? Now there was. There's rumors been made. There's a rumor currently going around right now that one name I mentioned earlier might come back to South Sydney. Might come back to South Sydney as head coach. That being the Supercoach himself, Wayne Bennett. Now, as we all know, he's currently coaching at the Dolphins, and we all know how successful how much success they've had over their first year and a bit in the NRL so far. So, could he lead them on a short-term basis, if you know what I mean? So his name was mentioned in amongst that, and then also it came out that there's speculation that star utility Latrell Mitchell might give up might say, I'm not going to play Origin this year at all, and focus all of his attention on the Rabbitohs because of the Rabbitohs' form this year, which is massive. It would be absolutely huge for him to sacrifice his pivotal spot in the New South Wales Blues Origin side to basically say, you know what, I'm wanting to put this South Sydney team on my back. That is what that message is. I actually, some people might not like it. I actually like that because basically he wants to put this club on his back and wants the club to climb back up the ladder again. So yeah. So that's what I think personally. I think that's what it is there, and so currently, that is the rumor currently going right now, that when Hornby's interim coaching base is over, I don't think it says. I'll try and read this again. It doesn't say where. It doesn't actually say how long would Hornby take over on an interim basis for. It could be like a handful of games. It could be like 10 to 12 games. It could be for the rest of the season. We all don't know at this point. But anyways, with that, but as I said, there is more to come out of this article on NRL.com about this. So yeah, but this sacking has been on the cards for a long while if you think about it. So I want to pull you up a bit of a statistic here So basically, these are the games from round 12, 2023 to now. Obviously, the most recent, the past game where ultimately it was Dimitri's last game as South's coach. In those 21 games, he had coached them to only 5 victories, only 5 wins, and it conceded well over 600 points in all those 21 games. So that leaky defense has not been a problem for this entire season. It's been a problem for him for almost 12 months. That's been a problem for him, and it's unfortunately those bad performances, had led him to basically led to him getting sacked. Despite obviously before the game against the Storm, players spoke out that they respect Dimitri. They came out in the press conference. I think it was Cam Murray, I believe, came out in the press conference before the Storm game and said that all these fellow players and all these fellow leaders and that are 100% behind Dimitri. But at the end of the day, decisions about if the coach is staying or not is ultimately down to the board. And as they said, they needed to go in, as it said, they needed to go in a new direction, head coaching wise, and that's why he's been given the axe. And that's why he's fallen on his sword in other ways. But Dimitri, as I said, I'm not surprised this happened. I think it should have happened about maybe 2-3 weeks ago, but a little bit later than ever, pretty much. So I can't wait to see how Hornby will do on an interim basis. I would presume more information will come out over the coming days about is it till the end of the season? Is it for a couple of games? Is it for a 10 or 12 game period? We don't know. So yeah, but I would presume it'll be till the end of the season. So it's going to be a long season ahead here for South Sydney. Now they're going to be under an interim coach for the rest of the season, anyways. So yeah, moving here from one Stella Dweller team that is finally as sacked their coach, to another Stella Dweller team, but in a different scenario, and that was the Gold Coast Titans. who I think produced on an important day on Anzac Day one of probably the upset of the NRL season in 2024. I mean, think about this here. You're playing the Warriors. You're playing them at Mount Smart Stadium. You all know how volatile it is down there. When the Warriors are up and about, we saw them a lot. We saw that a lot last year, and we've seen a lot of that this year so far. I mean, some games have been decided because of the support from the crowd over there in New Zealand. And then just to add to it, it's on Anzac Day. And it's going to be chock-a-block full at Mount Smart Stadium for this occasion. And I love. By the way, I'll mention more about it later. But I just love the touch of when the Warriors came out, Soldiers was right beside each one of those players, and same too with the Titans. It was just a nice touch, to be honest. But yeah. The game was played in front of just under 24,000, so almost near full capacity at Mount Smart Stadium, and this win was on the cards for a while. They'd been close to last fortnight. I mean, they lost to the Raiders by a point, and then obviously they lost. I think they lost by 2. I think okay, let's go tight. I need to fact check this. Hang on, fact check this. Yeah, by 4 points again, and then by 4 points against Manly. So this win had been on the cards for a good while, and they were very competitive. And they were competitive in their game against the Cowboys a few weeks ago too. So they've been competitive all throughout that. So the big test for them still lays ahead over the next month, where they've got, before their round 13 bye, they got the Melbourne Storm and the Cowboys at home, and then they got the Knights a Magic round, and then they got the original, and then they have the Queensland Derby against the Broncos in round 12 before they have their round 13 bye. So yeah, which is tough in a lot of ways. I mean, I don't think they'll beat the Storm. I don't think they'll beat the Cowboys and the Broncos. But I think 50-50 for the Knights, in my opinion. I think, but surely this season has reignited. After this game, no doubt about it. It has reignited again. So I'm interested to see over the next month, really, what happens. Is it just a slow start with the players? Of course, obviously, Des Hasler just come in. We all know what a big coaching resume that Des Hasler has. Maybe it was taking some time. So obviously they still missing some of their stars, obviously through injury and all that. But hopefully for them. This is hopefully the turning point for them. Hopefully is the turning point, and hopefully maybe because they are often competitive. Often matches between them and the Melbourne Storm are high scoring and thrilling as well. So there's that really on that front as well. So So if you share my opinion about the Gold Coast Titans getting the upset, producing the upset of the 2024 NRL season, just agree with me down in the comments there. Moving on to the injury front. First of all, for the AFL, Adelaide forward Luke Pedlar is going to miss the South Australian Showdown after suffering a shoulder injury during the game against North Melbourne, which he is going to be seeing a specialist after mixed scanned results. In that, Brisbane utility Callum Archie is going to be missing just this week's game with a hamstring injury which he suffered in the game against GWS. Couple injuries to report from the Pies. A couple of midfielders. One being Jordan De Goey. He is in doubt for the big clash against Carlton with groin soreness that came out from post the Anzac Day game, and Tom Mitchell is also in doubt as well after due to a ongoing lingering foot issue which has plagued him for most of the first bit of this season. For Geelong, out of Geelong, their captain in Paddy Dangerfield, of course, he recently just come off of of injuring his hamstring injury in round 2. He's now suffered an injury to that exact same hamstring. It'll be out for at least a month. As I said, it's the same hamstring that caused him to be sidelined for 3 weeks back in round 2 against Adelaide. As I said about North Melbourne, they just cannot take a trick at the moment. Joy Simpkin is in doubt for the game against St Kilda after experiencing quad soreness after the game against Adelaide. And it matters worse as well. Their young ruck in Hamish Free will enter the AFL's 12-day concussion protocols. Obviously, after being concussed in that game as well. In a bit of sad news for Port Adelaide, their midfielder is Sam Powell-Pepper. Sadly, during the game against St Kilda, he had ruptured his ACL, which means that his 2024 AFL season is over, which is unfortunate for him. Big Ivan Soldo, the new recruit that Port Adelaide bought during the off season. He underwent an arthroscopy. I've said that tried to say it 4 times, and immediately I couldn't get it right. On a meniscus injury, which will keep him out for the next 4 to 5 weeks. And it's mate matters versus well-powered key defender Alir also will enter the concussion protocols after he was knocked out after he was concussed during the game against St Kilda, which that incident I'll get to in a bit. It gets to in a bit later. Tigers midfielder Jacob Popper, after recently returning from a knee injury, within 1 week he's back on the injury list again, suffering a hamstring injury, and he'll be out for another 3 weeks, which is unfortunate for him. And then in a massive blow for the Western Bulldogs, their live wire forward in Cody Waitman re-injured his troublesome elbow, which he will undergo surgery this week, and because of it, he will miss up to 8 to 10 weeks, which is massive for them. Not a lot of injuries to report as well from the NRL, but they're big ones as well. Parramatta Eels fullback Clint Gutherson this week had a minor operation on his knee, and will miss the next 5 weeks, which means that he is heavily in doubt for the State of Origin series. Or almost effectively has ruled him out of the State of Origin series, which is a great shame for him. Dolphins trio Kenny Bromwich, Felice Kafusi, and Connolly Limanu will miss the big clash against the North Queensland Cowboys after suffering concussion, hamstring and knee injuries respectively. Melbourne Storm winger Xavier Coates will miss the game against the Gold Coast Titans with a hamstring injury. St George Illawarra Dragons center Moses Suli has entered the NRL's concussion protocols after failing his HIA during this week's the ANZAC game against the Roosters. And finally, Raiders forward Pasami Sulo will be reassessed after this weekend on his lower back injury to see if he can return see if he will return for at least for Magic Round, which has been slanted there. Now onto the suspensions. A couple of suspensions that came out from the AFL. Most recently, so first off, Western Bulldogs forward Riley West was suspended for 1 match for rough conduct, and then in the one that's been talked about a lot throughout this week, was that Saints small forward Jack Higgins was suspended for 3 matches for rough conduct on Aliir, which caused Aliir to get concussed. The club did choose to appeal that decision, which just today. About, as I'm recording this, if I try and find it, here it is. So about an hour ago, it was confirmed that it was pretty much confirmed. I think I'll try and find it. Maybe about just under an hour ago, it was confirmed that that decision was upheld, and that 3-game suspension for Higgins will stand, which will be a great shame for the St Kilda Football Club. Or not a good shame anyways, because obviously they're playing North Melbourne, so they don't really need him in a lot of ways. A couple of suspensions that come out of the NRL. I mean, the Rabbitohs centre Tane Milne was suspended for 2 matches for a grade 3 dangerous contact, and there was two initial suspensions for Manly. I'll get to why initially in a sec. Holomo Okatuatu was suspended for 2 matches for a grade 2 dangerous throw. And then of course Manly playmaker and veteran of the club Daly Cherry Evans was suspended for 2 matches for a grade 2 dangerous throw. But the club challenged the decision and was successful in downgrading it to a fine, which is great for him, which means he'll be free to play this week. So those were the suspensions for both AFL and NRL. the last thing I want to talk about is it's a bit of a debate. I mean, who celebrated Anzac Day better? Was it the AFL? Was it the NRL? I mean, nothing could top Anzac Day. Nothing could top Anzac Day. I mean, they have. It's nice to see that the AFL's now starting to follow the NRL's lead, which they've done in pretty much every single fashion recently, as well. But in having more than just one game on Anzac Day, of course, they had the GWS Brisbane game on the Thursday night after the Anzac Day game, which was great. And then basically, there was the 3 NRL games. Obviously, one in Auckland, the other in Sydney, and the other one in Melbourne. Because usually it's Melbourne and the New Zealand Warriors that normally plays on Anzac Day, but this time that they just played separately. I think, as I said, the Warriors played the Titans, and the Storm played the South Sydney Rabbitohs, which we all know what that result was. But there was 400 out of all 9 games that played in the AFL, there was 433, which is only the 3rd time in AFL history that there was a 400,000 plus crowd for all in one round. In one round. 2 of them, by the way, happened this year. Round 1 is the top one pretty much. So, and the top 2, I think the top 2, I read rightly, the top 2 are basically from 2024, and so it just basically sends another signal that footy is alive and well after so many years for it, 2020, 2021, and 2022 with low crowds and basically crowds of nothing at all. It's great to see big crowds back, and hopefully those record numbers just keep on growing. Hopefully, there. But the NRL wasn't that high. Obviously, well, why am I surprised? Because obviously the NRL, obviously the AFL is the more popular of the two. I'm sorry. Say it, but judging by these numbers here, 408,433 compared to 179,337, that's basically the case. But if you combine all of them, out of 17 matches that were played, 9 from the AFL, 8 from the NRL, if you combine all those 17 matches, combined out of the 2 leagues, it was combined to 587,770, which was almost 600,000 people went through the turnstiles to watch Aussie Rules football and NRL and rugby league football over the course of the Anzac weekend. Which, if there's any 2 sports that celebrate the Anzac weekend better in Australian sport, it's the AFL and the NRL. I've always said that. I've always said that there should be more sports that should celebrate the Anzac weekend. It's more of I imagine I want the A-League to do this. So I always want supercars to do this. And it'd just be amazing. As I said, nothing tops the AFL and the NRL in terms of watching on Anzac Day. But who celebrated the Anzac Day weekend better? I don't know, to be honest. It's like choosing your favourite child. You just can't choose one of them. Let's put it that way. But if I comment down below who do you think celebrated the Anzac weekend better? Was it the AFL? Was it the NRL? I would love to hear your thoughts on that. So that is pretty much the end of another episode. So like this video, share this to anybody who's a poor North Melbourne fan, who's an even more poor shares to a poor South Sydney fan. Tell them that everything's okay, by the way. And then as I said, comment down below who celebrated the ANZAC weekend better. Was the AFL? Was the NRL? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And one last thing, somewhere down there, click on the big red button which is labeled subscribe. It really helps me out quite a bit. But until next time, guys, I'll see you all later.